Hi friends, welcome on YourPedia, and this one is yet another important topic for your group discussion. If you are going for GD, then YourPedia is the platform where you should prepare, and you can always take the currently relevant topics for GD from our website, from our panel, and prepare with the mentors. GD is all about practice, lot of practice and structures. So watch our three basic videos: how to start GD, how to conclude GD, how to enter in GD. They are available on YouTube channels. So watch these videos and start practicing with the mentors of YourPedia in case you are going for group discussion, group task, etc. Now normally whenever you go for group discussion, they tend to ask you the topic which are in the current relevant topics and which are important topics. Recently what we saw in Bangladesh, the Prime Minister who was elected fourth time and she completed 15 years in office, Sheikh Hasina, she resigned and she left the country, and military was supporting the people, and the youth were protesting on the streets, and they vandalized even the palace of Prime Minister in Dhaka, Bangladesh, and that was a sort of a coup, I can say, in Bangladesh. So many were thinking that if one particular person is in office for long duration of time for one reason or the other, he tend to become autocratic and dictator. In my another video, important topic of GD was democracy's best form of government. This video is related to dictatorship is the worst form of government. Dictatorship is, we can't say that democracy is the best form of government. I mean, there are some other form of government also, like China, there is no democracy, but it has worked for them. But dictatorship is certainly not good. Dictatorship is something like individual becoming all powerful. Whether you talk about North Korea, you talk about during the time of Hitler, you talk about Saddam Hussein, you talk about Idi Amin, you talk about present day to some extent Russia and all. When one person is in the office for long years, he tends to become autocratic, and that is not good for public or nation. Now this topic is dictatorship, worst form of rule, and you should know why we are talking about this, because recently Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina, Prime Minister of Bangladesh, her government was overthrown after 15 years of rule, and she falls from grace, and even her father founded this nation in 1971, Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, but he was also assassinated in the office. And now we are talking about whether dictatorship is acceptable and is sustainable model or not. As per Sheikh Hasina, she was trying to bring Bangladesh into the category of developed nations, and Bangladesh was doing good in economy in some matters, and Bangladesh is also having challenge of radical groups inside and militancy inside. So that was largely controlled. But people say that okay, it was an autocracy and it was a dictatorship and all, though we very cautiously we have to say whether Sheikh Hasina was a dictator or not. So dictatorship is worst form of rule, that is for sure, that is we don't deny. It is not a good form, it's not a good form of governance, it is the worst form actually. Why? Because individual rights are suppressed. When I discuss with you about the democracy, rule of the people, for the people, by the people, I told you that in the democracy the good thing is that people enjoy liberty and fundamental rights. Under part 3 of Indian Constitution, the article 12 to 35 gives us fundamental rights. We have 6 fundamental rights: right to freedom of expression, reside, liberty. So we enjoy fundamental rights, and Supreme Court protects our fundamental rights from the tyranny of the government. If government becomes very powerful, Supreme Court will provide us our fundamental rights. Now in the dictatorship, that fundamental rights are not enjoyed by the individual. Like think of if somebody can be thrown in jail, if government official feels that you are to be thrown in jail, so you cannot go to the court because that is a rule of the government. So when government become very, very powerful, individual actually loses their freedom and all. So that is the expression of individual's right. Lack of accountability. If the government is not doing good for us, we have vote in our hand and we can change the government. That is a right, that is a power which Constitution has given us. Think of in dictatorship. Individuals do not enjoy the right to decide the government. So government is not accountable to the people. because dictators are not elected by the people. Now you know that Bharatiya Janata Party, Indian National Congress, NDA, or any political party in any state or center, they know that if they don't do good, then after 5 years people may not elect them. So that particular fear among them makes them accountable to people, but in dictatorship it is not there. So lack of accountability. Economic stagnation, North Korea में देखो क्या हो रहा है. North Korea and South Korea, they are the two typical examples. North Korea is ruled by dictator Kim Jong-il, whereas South Korea is sort of democracy. So South Korean are you already know that the kind of economy they have, technology they have, Samsung and all, they are doing so good in the world, they have a name. But North Korea, nobody knows. There's people living in North Korea are living in a pathetic state. So economic stagnation, there is a reason for that. You are not opening your economy with the economy of the world, so stagnation is there. Human right abuses, yes, you can be arrested, you can be imprisoned, violence can be there, all these things. Conflict and instability, there are conflicts, there is a instability. So obviously when dictator is there, he will always try to suppress the people movement against him, and that eventually leads to a lot of conflicts. Dictatorship is inherently unstable because it is not based upon a particular system, it is individually based. So whenever they always remain in the state of fear that somebody may attack them or somebody may take their power back. So they need to maintain that particular state. So civil war also happens, like what we saw in Bangladesh was a civil war. So if you try to become autocratic, if you stop listening to people, if your government is in power for many years, no other political party is getting chance to come to power, your political party becomes very powerful, you become very powerful, then that is not a sustainable model. I mean, power should reside where it belongs to. The power belongs to the people, and the power should be with the people only. So nobody should have lot of power centers, should not be created. Nobody should be very powerful so that they don't start misusing that particular power. It is said that power corrupts and the absolute power corrupts absolutely. So those things should be prevented. So there have been cases where the dictator have done something good for the country also, but largely it is not good. So whenever you are going for, friends, any kind of discussion, you need to have some kind of examples which I gave you, example of North Korea, South Korea. If you want to do very good GD, if you want to have very good in inputs in the group discussion, think of some examples, think of some points which are relevant for that, and GD is a pretty simple thing. In the 15 minutes discussion where 7-8 people are sitting, you may participate 3-4 times, and in that 3-4 times your entries, you should give some points which are very relevant. If you start giving very relevant points and start giving the examples, you have done your job. The observer will understand that yes, he knows certain things and he is participating nicely. So dictatorship is a worst form of rule. You can name some kind of dictators like Hitler, you can Saddam Hussein, Idi Amin, you can name, or Stalin you can name historically, or you can name the autocratic powers which presently world is observing, like Putin. He is in power now and his regime is supposed to be very autocratic regime. So people may say he is also dictator, though Russia is a friendly nation of India. But when someone is in power for long duration of time, then that regime becomes autocratic regime. So this is how you need to be clear about the topic, and certain things like what is the problem with the dictatorship or autocracy: suppression of the individual rights, lack of accountability, economic stagnation, human rights abuse, instability and conflict. So these are the points you should keep in your mind when you are going for the participation. The rest, I think you should always make a balance. Whenever some topic is given to you, don't be in the extreme that you totally agree with the statement. So in these kind of cases, dictatorship as a term is not cannot be taken in a positive light. So dictatorship is certainly bad, it is certainly not good for any kind of country. On the short term basis, it may look like that the country is in control or country is growing economically, but in the long run it is not sustainable because it is based upon individual. So you should not take when you start the discussion, you should not take the side which actually may not be appropriate. So Is democracy the best form of government? You may say that yes, it is a good form of government, but it may not be the best for all the nations. Is dictatorship worst form of the government? Yes, dictatorship is worst form of the government. That is how you have to take a stand. So take a stand and start giving your input, start participating. Thank you.